Hey traders, have you ever felt like everything you do, you're doing everything right in your trading, but you're still not getting there? Or worse yet, no matter what you do, it seems like all you do is lose. Well, if so, keep watching, because in this video, we're going to show you the best example from the Bible on how to tackle this problem and not only overcome it, but to leave a legacy in the end. So, thank you for being here. I'm Pepper. This is the Godly Trading Podcast, the combination of how to handle your trading life and Bible study for traders, all wrapped into one. And today we're going to go through one of my favorite books of the Bible, which is the book of Nehemiah. And honestly, this book is so applicable to your trading because it is how to solve any problem. And that is it at its core what trading is all about. It's just problem solving. So many people come to me and we're teaching people how to trade and they have questions. And one of the issues that we tackle in what we do, there's so much misinformation out there on social media, and these days we call it misinformation and disinformation. There's so many misconceptions about trading out there on social media that it seems like half the time that's what we spend doing. However, one of the hardest ones people have to overcome is that trading is too difficult, trading is too hard, trading is complex, and only a small amount of people can do it. Well, let me just tell you, trading is easy. Excuse me, I said that wrong. Trading is simple. It's not always easy. It can be. But trading is just a skill. Trading is simply a series of, if this thing happens, then do that. And if this happens, it's just a plan. It's just a checklist. It is problem solving 101. And that's what we see from the book of Nehemiah. So in Nehemiah chapter 1, his brethren come to him. He's basically the butler to the king of Babylon. And they come to him, they're talking to him about how the walls of Jerusalem have been broken down. And he takes some time figuring out how he feels about this. But ultimately, the first thing that happens, first thing we see that Nehemiah does is he identifies the problem. And for you as a trader, that might be something along the lines of, I don't know how to trade. Or, I'm trading and it just doesn't seem to be going anywhere. Or maybe you're in the situation that I have been in for the last month is I'm doing everything right. I'm doing nothing different. But now suddenly I'm losing, whereas before I was winning. There's a problem to be solved. And I don't know what it is about trading that invites emotion in a way that other skills don't. I mean, when it comes to, I always use juggling as the example, and I will not juggle here on live YouTube because it never goes well. But trading is a skill just like juggling. But when you're frustrated juggling, you don't start making judgment calls about you as a person. You just say, okay, I just haven't got this yet. Riding a bike, that kind of thing. But when it comes to trading, somehow or another, we associate ourselves and our worth with what we're doing. So when we struggle, we don't know what to do. We don't look at it as simply a problem to be solved. One of the first things that we do in our program when we teach people how to trade is literally problem solving. Hey, let's just sit down and let's map out. And that is what he did first and foremost. He said, what is the problem that we have to solve? And what steps can I take to overcome it? What's interesting about this is the culture of Darius, I believe, for his reason I'm sure it was Darius, that he was butler to the king. The culture, the Persian culture there, was one that venerated and treated with honor their ancestors, the tombs of their ancestors. So what did Nehemiah do? Well, the first thing he did is, he goes into the king. The king said, hey, why are you sad? You shouldn't be sad around me. He's like, well, how else should I feel when the tombs of my fathers are laid bare? So he approaches the problem from a standpoint of how can I connect this problem to someone who can help me with that. And in that, he managed to find his purpose. And that's the second thing he looks at. I mean, Nehemiah could have lived out his life in luxury with his job with the king. Samson says, this is exactly what I'm dealing with now, following my rules and still lose. Yes, that is one of the most difficult things to overcome. You think, well, hang on, especially if, and Samson, let me know, you have a situation where You were following your rules before, and it was working. And now you're still following your rules, and it's not working. And it is completely understandable. That happened to me. I just concluded May. May was my first month in the big leagues with investors' money. And it was my worst month in almost 3 years. I kid you not, by a factor of 1.5. Up until then, my worst month ever was when I first joined this prop firm, and I was still figuring things out with how they work. It was 4%. This was 6.5%. I don't know if that's 1.5%. It's close to it. But anyway, this last month, I did everything exactly the same. I did nothing different. And yet, all I did was lose. 8 losses in a row. Now, by the way, before I get distracted further by my own thoughts, not by you, Samson, thank you for mentioning that. When we boil things down to problem solving, it does help somewhat take some of the emotion out. But I want to boil it down even further when it comes to this area and just turn it into pure math. I've got a chart that I found from Maverick Trading. And if you want to go out there and look up Maverick Trading losing streak chart, you can probably find it, or you can reach out to us. I'll send you a copy of it. And all it does is it's a graph that says, what is your win rate? And here are losing streaks, to 8, right? So, and it's this chart that does this. So what you do is you come across, my win rate's right at 60%. 60%, I come to 8, and it was a 3 to 7% chance that at a 60% win rate, at some point, I would run into an 8-trade losing streak. Guess what I ran into in the month of May? I had an 8-trade losing streak. You talk about questioning everything that you're doing. How do you keep going? How do you keep trading the plan when the plan seems like it's broken? Well, that's a fine question. And what you do is you go back and you look at the plan in its entirety. I do not have an eraser here, so I'm going to do this, and y'all forgive me. If this works or not, well, it didn't quite work. When I came up with my trading plan, which I built from scratch, and I highly recommend, I don't highly recommend, I require, in as much as one adult can require another adult. Again, Captain Barbosa, my requirements are more like guidelines. Everyone build a system for themselves. Even if I give you a trading strategy, build it yourself, test it yourself. When you do, you're going to come up with, okay, my back test results showed me I would have an equity curve that looked like this. And that's fantastic. And I have one of those. And this is what happens. Just like you're going through Samson, I went through this book period and said, okay, well, what's going wrong? So you go back and you look at the results that you had, that you collected when you started with this, when you built this system. And I love using automated tools to test with. To me, backtesting is the prime example of the verse from Hebrews 11:1 that says, now faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. That is your trade plan, that is your backtesting in a nutshell. So when you do that, and especially if you're using an automated system and it spits out one of these charts, you go, okay, fantastic. I started here and I ended here, and that's what, it's 20% a year, or 30% a year, or 130% a year, whatever it is. And you look at that thing, okay, yeah, I'm happy with that. Here's what we don't often think about. This right here. Our system generates this with a click of a button, or if you're doing it manually over the course of a couple of days. But you and I have to live through every single downtick of this chart in real time. My system proved to me through its backtesting that I could have up to, I think it was 9. I could expect at some point up to 9 losses in a row. So, month of May rolls around. I'm doing everything the same as I did in April. And I have 8 losses in a row. I look at my backtest results. I look at the data that I collected, that I built the system on, the foundational faith that I had in it, substance of things hoped for. And I see, oh, okay. This thing's, Mama said there'd be days like this. Is that a Motown song? Anyway, my system said there would be days like this. So, as much as you don't want to say this out loud, 8 losses in a row everything is still going according to plan. The plan said this might happen. And it did happen. Therefore, everything is still going according to plan. So that's what you do. First thing you do is you identify the problem. I don't know how to trade. I'm stuck in my trading. Nothing's moving forward. Then, most importantly, you can't read that because I didn't write it correctly. Purpose. Nehemiah set about trying to connect a purpose to what he was doing. He already had a purpose in life. He was the king's cupbearer, which means the butler, essentially. He was in. He had prestige. He had responsibility. He had everything he needed. He did not need to go traveling 2,000 miles away to a city that didn't exist and camp out for 2 or 3 years. But yet, there was a greater purpose for this. I have a greater purpose in what I'm doing. You have a greater purpose in what you're doing. And that is what you have to stand on. To say, I don't like what's happening. But I've looked and I can see that I'm not the problem. And the market's not the problem. Math is the problem. And for that just means I've just got to endure this. I mean, I want to paint a picture for you. Nehemiah goes, he's still in his purpose stage. He goes to the city of Jerusalem. The buildings were there, but the wall was in well, the word they used for rubble, the Hebrew to English translation is one of, and it says he spent 3 days, 3 nights actually, going out, didn't tell anybody what he was doing, and he surveyed the area. He needed to wrap his brain around the enormity of the problem. And then he sat down and came up with a plan. How do we get from here to there? How do we do this? Well, the first thing he did was he gathered people around him. I'm running out of room and I'm running out of peas. People. You have got to have people around you. I would not have made it through this past month without the people in our community who reach out to me and say, hang in there. I mean, I have an accountability group that I'm a part of, and I have an accountability group that I, for lack of a better term, run. And apart from those people, I wouldn't have made it through. So you need to have people around you to help you implement the plan to achieve your purpose. But the genius of Nehemiah's plan was the way he broke it down into such small details. What does this have to do with trading? Bear with me. So, all right, we got this wall that doesn't exist right now. It's gravel. I need to rebuild it. So we're going to gather everybody together, and we're going to break it up into small sections. Hey, where do you live? Yeah, let's just focus on the wall section in front of your house. Where do you live? Let's focus on the wall section in front of your house. Oh, you're the priest, right? You don't live here. You live. They had people from other cities coming in, building wall sections. One of the people that's mentioned didn't have a house. He rented a room. So what did he do? That's right. He built the section of wall in front of the room that he rented. But the other thing was these people that came from far and wide, it lists their occupation, some of them. They were perfumers and jewelers and goldsmiths, people who did not have the skill of wall building. And add to that the fact that they had to, at one point, stand guard. They literally said they had a shovel in one hand and a sword in the other because they were being attacked, they were being persecuted. And the P that can't fit on there. But it was this. It was his plan for progress. Plan for progress. Boy, I need one of those electronic. Hey, Mr. Producer Man, help me remember to buy one of those really expensive electronic boards. He had a plan for progress. At the very beginning, he mapped out a journey. Not unlike the sponsor for our podcast tonight, which is my own book, Trading with Joy, which is a journey using the fruit of the Spirit that starts with the last, remember the fruit of the Spirit, 9 of them. Love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. We start at self-control, which is the first critical element in overcoming your emotions that you need to conquer. And we work our way backwards towards joy. So, if you want to find a way to overcome this discouragement, I've been through this massive amount of losses. I don't know what's going wrong. I'd highly encourage you to pick up a copy of Trading with Joy. You can get it at tradingwithjoybook.com. We got a link down in the description. I believe everyone else on YouTube says merch links in the bio, but I don't know what either one of those things means. So the plan, the journey that he mapped out was brilliant. First thing I'm going to do, I'm going to break this problem down into pieces. First thing you do when you are going through this period, first thing I do is break it down to pieces. All right. When something goes wrong, is it me? Is it the system? Or is it the market? So step number one in combating this, am I the problem? Well, okay. Back then, yes, technically speaking, the Jews were the problem. Well, I can't say it on YouTube, can I? In the grand scheme of God gave them a command and says, if you do this, then this will happen. If you don't do this, then that'll happen. The people of Israel had left God, and they were being punished as a result. What I just said, that's what I meant. Don't. I hope I don't get dinged by YouTube for having said that. In your trading, step one, identify the problem. Are you the problem? Which means go back to the period of time we're talking about. Let's say you've had a bad month, a bad week, a bad year. Go back and back test what you just lived through. You think, well, how did I do that? I just lived through it. When we back test, we always follow our rules. Or better yet, I know a guy that you can hire. Lives in Vietnam. For $100, he'll build you an automatic system that you can use to backtest. Use one of those things to backtest. Go back and see. Okay, I just got through trading the month of May, personally, manually with my own brain, live. Let me see what the computer would have done during that period of time, and that lets you know if it's you. Chances are you're going to come to the end of it and say, "Hang on, it wasn't me. I traded the way I should have traded. I didn't risk too much. I didn't overtrade. I didn't undertrade. I wasn't hesitant. I traded my system." Remember, trading success is three things. Trade your plan, get out of your own way, repeat. So step one in the purpose to problem solving is see if it's you. Step two, in as much as your trading style is affected by the market, see if it's the market. What do I mean by that? Let's say that you are a day trader. Then you trade the 5-minute chart. I'm going through, I'm teaching a fellow right now, and we're starting how to trade. And we're starting off day trading down the 5-minute chart. I know. Ironic in that I am a recovering day trader and will never day trade ever again. Teaching someone else how to day trade. Trading is trading. 5-minute chart, daily chart. You do the same things. It's all the skills you learn from one is what happens to the other one. But let's say that you are a day trader and you trade the 5-minute chart. Were there news events? Was there a tweet that came out of nowhere that blew you apart, right? Did you accidentally forget? And that's not, when you forget something, that's not you breaking a rule. That's not you trading inconsistently. That's just a mistake. So, in as much as the market might affect what you do, go and see were the market conditions different at all during this period we're talking about. Hey, I'm struggling. And then you move on to the last one. Is it the plan? How do I know if it's my trade plan or not? Step one, where did I write plan at? You can't tell anymore. Do you have a plan? The most important thing that we do in our system of guidelines, our own version of the Pirates Code, the most important thing we do is guide people into creating their own trade plan, a plan that they build themselves that has backtest data in it, that gives them the foundation to stand on. That's why the little graphic at the front of the book is this sort of cobblestone stone pathway. This is what you stand on. You look at that and you say, did everything go according to plan? Oh, hang on. This happened and the plan didn't take that into account. Or that happened and the plan didn't know what to do. That's the case. Maybe it is time to take a look at the plan. But if you go back and pull out your plan and you say, okay, I just went through a 6% drawdown. Well, this thing said over the course of 5 years I'd have a 6% drawdown 1 month. Well, that sucks. But yeah, everything's still going according to plan. And then what do you do? Then it's not me. It's not the market, and it's not my plan. Now what? As much as every single one of you is going to click away when I say this, at that point, It's just trading. At the end of the day, all we can do is rest on probability. That, again, the trade plan is just says this happens and that and we do that, right? It's just if this, then that. And we're just banking on probability. There was wherever I wrote it down, there was between a 3 and 7% chance that I would go through an 8 trade losing streak. And you think, well, 3% chance of it, big deal. That's never going to happen. If you trade enough, anything will happen. Your 3% long away, won't ever happen probability will happen at some point. I tell people this all the time. Big LSU football fan, which is the reason why we're purple and gold. Well, actually, it's not the reason we're purple and gold. How are we doing on time? Do I have a minute for a rabbit trail? Okay. So, if you've ever read the book of Revelation, I know, what am I talking about this for? There are 12 foundation stones in the New Jerusalem, right? And they list them off. The top one is jacinth. Jacinth is purple. And the streets are paved with, see what I'm going with this? Purple and gold for the rest of eternity. It's not my fault. I didn't write it. It was in my Bible when I woke up this morning. Anyway, every year, it seems like right before school starts at colleges around the world, 3 or 4 players get arrested. And like, oh my goodness, why is this program always got these problem people? And I thought, look, there are 100 players, right? There are 100 players. Actually, there's probably like 120 players on this team. If 98% of them are the love child of the Pope and Mother Teresa, that's a terrible analogy. If 98% of them are saints, that means 3 of them are still going to jail. It's just math. And that's all we run into here. You do this long enough, and any situation will come up. So you have to have a plan. What happens when it goes wrong? Nehemiah had something go wrong. Earlier, I was working my way towards the progress part. And I haven't even written progress down here. I'll roll over progress. When you're building or rebuilding, one of the most critical things you can do is set yourself some small milestones. Nehemiah said, hey, we're going to build this wall up. Not all the way, halfway up. We're going to build it halfway up, and then we're going to connect it together. And we're going to celebrate. And not only have we made this visible achievement, but now, hey, people are trying to attack us at night. Now we got something to stand behind. We literally have a wall to stand behind, and they're going to have to come over the top of this wall, and we can, defend ourselves. But he set small milestones. The first thing that happened was they set the gates, hung the pillars, small milestones, celebrate the win. Then this dude builds the wall in front of his house, halfway up. Small progress, celebrate the win. And that's what you do if you're building or rebuilding. Right, this month, minus 6.5% return. Next month, to get back to where I want to go, there's no way I'm making this back next month. You have to set realistic expectations. So next month, 2% is what I'm shooting for. And if I get to 2% next month, I'm stopping, I'm celebrating the small win, and I'm waiting for the following month. So when you're building or rebuilding and you're struggling, say, hey, look, I don't even want to care about this next trade, whether it makes money or not. I just want to do everything perfect. Sean says, good to be here. Thank God he's in control. The plan is always good when it's implemented at the correct time. Yes, I've heard it somewhere before that said, because I had said this before, hey, I was right? I expected the market to do this thing. I was right. I was just early or late. And someone said, hey, being early or late is the same as being wrong. Solomon, in all of his wisdom, this is not the birds, by the way, this is Solomon. To everything there is a season and a time for every purpose under heaven. There was an appointed time for me to go through a massive, 6.5% drawdown. Sean says, our trading plan might not always work under every. That is true. That is absolutely true. And I would highly recommend, once you have a system that you can trade, what do I call it? Trade on cruise control. That's how I trade my system. I trade on cruise control every 3:30, open up my platform, clickety-clickety, 15 minutes later, shut it down and move on with my life. I trade on cruise control. Once you have that system in place, and my ironically, no, this isn't ironic at all. We all use the word ironic, wrong. Alanis Morissette, if you're watching this, rain on your wedding day is not actually ironic. It's just unfortunate. Anyway, I had just totally distracted myself. What was I saying? You have no idea what I was saying? What kind of producer are you? All right, I'm just gonna, what did Sean say? He said
plan might not always work on every market condition.
Market condition, yes. So once you've gotten your, thank you, Mr. Producer. Once you've gotten your system up and running, and you're confident in it, you're comfortable in it. That's the most important thing. Actually, comfortable comes first, then confident. Mine works best in the first half of the month. It doesn't work well at the second half of the month. So, if you know that, and you know that your system works well under market conditions, find a way to quantify those market conditions. For me, for whatever reason, market conditions is by the 13th of the month, I better stop trading. Then go find another system that is complementary to that can fill in the gaps. Maybe a system that does not work the first, for me, let's say mine, I got to stop by the 12th. That's when my system stops working for whatever reason. I go out and find another system that works under the market conditions that happen in the second half of the month. Find a complementary system. One that still fits your trading DNA. What's your trading DNA? It's part of our program, and all I can say is this. We do this like flash chart thing. Hey, what would you want to do here? What do you want to do here? What do you want to do here? Are you a trend trader, a counter trend trader? Those kinds of things. I'm a trend trader. My trading DNA says go long at a certain point. I had a system. It was an algorithm. It was an automated system. It was an EA, an algorithm, and it traded counter trend. It went short when I was going long. I hated it. I hate it with a passion of 1,000 suns, and it made 2% a month. It was everything that I could have asked it for. It picked up where mine left off. It filled in the gaps. It did exactly the opposite. And so between the two of them, it was a great system, and I hated it because it did the opposite of what I wanted it to do. Now, in the end, I didn't trade it because I just let it go. If you're an algorithmic trader, we've talked about this before. People think that an algorithm is the answer to their problems. They can just turn it on and let it go. That will work for a brief period of time. Algorithms take just as much effort and time and maintenance and oversight and supervision as manual trading. So I traded for 7 months. It made 13% in 7 months. And in month 8, it lost 12% because I just let it go. I wasn't watching it. But anyway, I say that to say this. Market conditions absolutely affect your system. So once you know that, and I say know that, really dive deep. When I took a look at my graph and realized, hang on a minute, somewhere between the 6th and the 10th of every month, my graph peaks, and I spend the rest of the month trying to get back to that. Like 6 months in a row, I took a deep dive into my results and said, why am I putting myself through the misery of the 13th through the 30th? Let me just stop trading on the 12th, which is what I did from then on. Recognize, you don't have to understand the market conditions. I just recognize it. When this thing happens over here, again, it's what trading is. Problem solving. Nehemiah, problem solving. When this thing happens, then I do that. The market conditions are this, whatever it is for you, the market conditions are this. And when they're not this, I don't do that. Here's another great boil it down to its essence explanation of trading, a trade setup. Here's how you enter a trade. Or here's trade management. Find a reason to get into a trade and look to get out when that reason goes away. Simple as that. And that's both individual trade and trading for the month, your trading system. Right? I have a reason to trade, and somewhere for me around the 12th of the month, that reason goes away. I should look to get out and wait for the next month. So yeah, absolutely, market conditions do have an effect. Dive deep, analyze. If you need help with that, believe we've got the link in this video. We've got the free 30-minute one-on-one call from Calendly, which I can't ever pronounce correctly. I'm happy to talk to anybody for any reason at almost any time. But this idea that Nehemiah has of, say, I'm going to break this down into small pieces, and I'm going to celebrate when we get there, and I'm not going to get distracted. Chapter 5, I believe it is, chapter 5 is where all the attacks start happening. First things first, the people around there that did not like that the Jews were rebuilding their city tried to attack them. That plan failed because the word got out. So then they tried to distract them. And so, my goodness, when it comes to trading, how often are we distracted? Has anybody out there ever been guilty of strategy jumping? Strategy hopping, right? So your system is working and it stops working for a day, a week, or whatever it is, and you say, okay, I'm going to jump to this strategy. And I'm jumping to that strategy. And I'm jumping, just jump out with me for the first couple of years. Just nonstop jumping. Distraction. My children, of whom one is Mr. Producer, the other is Mr. IT Department, and I together, collectively, are the embodiment of the character Doug from Up. Matter of fact, I think Pixar owes us money for copyright infringement. For Squirrel. That was me when it came to trading. Just being distracted by anything. In that Nehemiah chapter 5, the enemies don't come at him directly. They try to distract. Hey, why don't you stop what you're doing and come, let's have a meeting. Let's get together. Let's talk about this. Let's talk about it. Hey, let's meet in the temple itself. And Nehemiah basically says, go away. I'm busy. A couple of times. He literally says, go away. I'm busy. I'm not doing this. I'm not doing that. He keeps single-minded focus. How? How do you keep single-minded focus when faced with the discouragement of people? Chapter 4, people come to him and say, hey, we're getting kind of overwhelmed with all these rocks, right? I make jewelry for a living. I don't know how to do this. They get discouraged. How? How does he overcome that? How do you overcome discouragement and distraction and doubt? Right here. I apologize for this, but purpose. Why are you doing this? Nehemiah was rebuilding the wall because this was the city of Jerusalem. The city that the entire race of people had in their hearts. He was rebuilding the city of Jerusalem, not for himself. He actually went back to Babylon and stayed there. He was building it for his children's children's children for however long it was between then and when Rome knocked it down. I take it back. Rome destroyed the temple. I don't remember if Rome destroyed the wall. But anyway, his purpose. And that is how you get through it. When you're discouraged, when everything is going wrong, all you're left with is your why. When the what fails and the how seems so far off, and the who have abandoned you, not the band, your people around you. Well, the who even still around? They're old, aren't they? Pretty old. Anyway, your why is what keeps you going. He even said in chapter 4, verse 14, and I love it, and I should have written it down, and I didn't. I encourage everyone out there to go look at Nehemiah 4:14. Mr. Producer, if you can put that on the screen or put it in the chat or whatever. Nehemiah 4:14. This is right after the people are coming to him complaining they were overwhelmed. We keep hauling rocks and we're just not getting anywhere. And I know a lot of you have felt that way in your trading. I keep doing the same thing over and over again and nothing seems to be working. What did Nehemiah say? He didn't say, guys, just bear with me. He didn't say, hey, here's an extra 20. He said, remember why we're doing this. We're doing this for our wives, our children, and our homes. He literally said that. That is why we are here. Godly trading exists to help fathers, asterisk, fulfill the command from Proverbs that a good man leaves an inheritance to his children's children. Why did I put an asterisk next to fathers? Well, we're here for anyone who bears the responsibility for a family, however you define family. Whether it's a wife and kids, maybe you're a single parent, maybe you don't have kids yet, maybe it's just you and the goldfish, maybe you're Mr. Producer with a dog who's not the brightest in the world. However you define family, that's who we're here for.
That's rude.
It's death row. Your why is what keeps you going, and that sometimes it's the only thing that keeps you going. You're like, oh, I am so discouraged. Nothing seems to be working right. I want to quit because look, I want to quit and try something else. There's so many other ways to make money. We could all go drive for Uber Eats. We could all go work at McDonald's. But for whatever reason, we have chosen trading as a means by which to set our families on a path towards financial freedom. And it is one of the hardest things we'll ever do. Trading is not difficult, not complex. Trading is simple, but it is often so very hard. And because of what's going on in here, we have to live through. How many times have you seen a professional sports team that starts off the year 0 and whatever and goes on to win the championship. They just have to believe in themselves, stick to the plan, and eventually things turn around. Even the best quarterback in the NFL to ever play the game, you know who I'm talking about? Drew Brees. Threw pick sixes, and had losing streaks. How does he go on? And I know some of you are like, oh, now Drew Brees. We all agree with him. Everyone agrees with him. How does he go on? He believes in the plan, and he believes in what he's doing. He doesn't abandon what he's doing. He doesn't go to the offensive coordinator and say, you know what, let's scrap it and start over. It takes patience. In here is defined as the word patience, and I'll pull it out for you, but I can't. The word patience that's in here, love, joy, peace, patience. That word patience in the Greek means endurance, long suffering. As a New Orleans Saints fan, I know what I'm talking about when I say long suffering. Patient endurance. Matter of fact, one of the connotations of that word in there in Greek is patient endurance. Keeping on, keeping on. And how do you develop that kind of patience? By focusing on your purpose. And that is how to bring this in for a landing. After all of the persecution and problems and discouragement, I couldn't find a P word for that one, that Nehemiah and his crew went through. They finished the project. They rebuilt the walls of Jerusalem by hand, out of gravel, in 52 days. Not only was it an astonishing feat at the time, it is an astonishing feat that we still all talk about to this day. And I'm not saying that if you just keep your eyes on the prize, you'll get there tomorrow. What I am saying is, if you keep your eyes on the prize, if you keep focusing on your why, if you surround yourself with people who can help you, it will get here sooner than you think. It might still take a while. They got to the halfway point, and I'm sure they're all like, oh, okay, fantastic. We're at the halfway point. And they're like, oh, we got more to do. But they finished it way before they thought it would. Oh dear. Samson says, I'm a Giants fan, so I know a whole lot about patience. You had one of our favorite players there for a while, OBJ and his over-the-head catch. I think OBJ has played for every NFL team now at this point. But patience is so much more, when it comes to trading, is so much more than just waiting for your setup. Patience is waiting for the market to open. Patience is like a baseball player who doesn't just wait for a good pitch. He waits for his pitch. Waiting for the perfect setup. Don't just find a 75% setup. Patience is everyday endurance. Waking up and saying, I've had 6 losing trades in a row. I'm going to place trade number 7. Okay, that one lost. Patience, okay, I've had 7 losing trades in a row. I'm going to place trade number 8. Okay, that one lost. I've had 8 losing trades in a row. I'm placing trade number 9. Hey, look, that one didn't lose. Patience is consistency in a nutshell. And consistency is what makes successful traders. That is the definition of insanity. I've heard this ascribed to or attributed to Edison and Einstein. Anyway, you've all heard it. Doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. The definition of trading consistency is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting the same result. And just because it doesn't happen doesn't mean you shouldn't still do the same thing over and over again. That is the only way to develop trading consistency. One of the things we talk about in our program is we don't care when you pick to trade, whether it's every morning at 8 a.m. or every month on Tuesday night. Just be consistent. Do the same thing at the same time, the same way every time. Again, Drew Brees. I would name, but I have no idea who the Giants quarterback is right now, and it may not be one. We don't have one right now. Derek Carr got his leg broke or something. I don't know. Anyway, Drew Brees would go out every single day before practice and play an entire game in his head. Talk about consistency. That is the key. Well, honestly, that's the key to mastering anything in life. And that's what we all want. We all want to be trade masters. We all want to master this skill, because that's all it is a skill. It's like juggling. I'm not going to juggle. I refuse to juggle. I can juggle a little bit, but I haven't mastered the craft. I don't spend any time at it. I don't do the same thing over and over again expecting the same result. But that is what it is. That is juggling to its core. That's what trading is to its core. So when you're going through what you're going through, when you're going through what I went through, how do you keep going? David said, yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil. Talking about walking, it's not the valley of death. It's the valley of the shadow. So it's like the valley of the doom and gloom. But just because he acknowledges it doesn't mean he doesn't have to still get to the end of it, right? He doesn't get teleported magically. As soon as he says, hey, God, I give this to you, he doesn't get magically teleported to the end of it. How does he get through it? He says, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. All right, your rod and your staff, they comfort, they protect us. What the shepherd used his rod to keep away predators. Knowing that everything's going to plan, knowing that 8 losing trades in a row is going to plan, doesn't help you at all when you're in the middle of it. What helps you is knowing that regardless of how I feel, I remember this clip from ER. The very first episode and the very last episode had the exact same phrase used, probably on purpose. Noah Wiley was, I think his name was Carter in the ER, and in the first episode he's out in the loading bay having a panic attack, and the doctor comes out and says, hey, helping them is more important than how we feel. And they said that at the end. Our families, helping our families achieve financial freedom is more important than how we feel. As a father, I know that all of you at times have just swallowed whatever it is you felt and soldiered on because your family was important. Nehemiah had a purpose in mind. Everything he was going through was probably miserable, but building this wall was more important than how he felt. So that's how you do it. You accept your purpose and you surround yourself with good people. People that are willing to walk this journey with you. No one should walk this alone. Trading can be the most isolating skill / endeavor, profession, whatever you want to call it. It can be the most isolating activity out there. Because for all of the joy of I can trade anywhere in the world with one of these, often it's just you and one of these, and you feel so alone. Find a community. There are so many great communities out there. We've got one on Facebook if you want to join. It's free. You can come, you can talk, you can howl at the moon, digitally speaking, and we will be right there with you, walking you through it. That Nehemiah could not have done this on his own. For all of the purpose that he was believed in, for all the plan that he came up with, without the people, this would not have worked. It wouldn't have worked in 52 days. So that's how you do this. You find people. I found my very first community and my very first mentor by going to a broadcast just like this. It was Power Trading Radio. And I found people that had left comments in the video on Facebook Live and sent them messages. And finally, one fellow responded. And we got to talking, and he's still a dear friend to this day. Find people to walk this walk with you. Do not try to do it alone. So, guys, thank you all for being here. Again, I'm going to mention the link, I hope, is in the description. If not, we'll edit it. It'll be there to click and sign up. And hey, we'll do a one-on-one video call. I'm in the Central Time Zone, so if you're anywhere, hour or two either side of the Central Time Zone, or even the other side of the planet, reach out to me. I'm happy to sit down and talk to anybody for anything, whether it's to give you some advice, to point you in the right direction, or just to listen to you howl at the moon. I'm here for you if you need it. So with that, guys, thank you for being here, and we will see you at this time next week. So put the thumbnail back up, mute the mic.